Hi, I'm John Mayfield, the Real Estate Tech Guy, with another Global Real Estate School podcast. Hey, welcome to the broadcast. John Mayfield, the Real Estate Tech Guy. I'm going to go over some questions with you here. Running a couple of minutes late. This is live. I did a live broadcast Saturday and I had to pull it down because I realized on the first question when I was giving the answer, I thought, I don't think I am giving the correct answer. Anyway, I did some further research on that, and I definitely was way off course. So my apologies for that. And I hopefully should have checked that to make sure the board was up, and it's not up. So I need to kind of figure that out. Let me see here if we can do that very quickly here. And I think I know what the issue is. So if you will give me just a half a second, we will try to get that fixed. Nothing like going live and then having an issue. But I think if I unplug that and plug it back in, it should be fine. If not, we'll be fine and everything will do well. Give me one quick second and so sometimes we have weird things that go on, and for some reason my digital board is not showing up, but I think we can still do a workaround here. So my apologies, but I wanted to go over a couple of questions here, and I may need to log out and log back in, but I hate to do that. We have 3 people watching. So I'm going to pull up the questions on my iPad. Actually, I can do that right here in front of me, so we will do that. So I have some new exam questions for my students, and they're pretty good questions that I came up with. And a couple of these were written so crazy that I actually was like, okay, I need to take a look at this and make sure that I have the right answers for these. So I'm going to go over here to the review material, and I have actually a couple of these review right here. I think this is it. So I am going to go right up here and we will pull up the exam. So if you're one of the Global Real Estate School students, on the left-hand side, you'll go into the content library. So when you click on content library, I have a section called Before Your Exam Preparation. And when you click on that, there are a couple of examinations that I have. And they are 20 questions that you very well could see, some of these on the exam. I think they really help you understand some concepts behind what's going on here. So here it is. This is the one we have. And I apologize that the board is not working. I probably sometimes you have to log out of Ecamm, log back in, and I hate to do that because it would mess the live stream up. So I'm going to just read the questions to you, if that's okay, and I might even be able to set up a new screen while I'm doing this on the air here. I sure wish I could get the Blackmagic. It's called Blackmagic to work, But what we're going to do here is I'm going to try to do a new window, a new scene, and I'm going to actually do a window. So we're doing this live on the air. So I want to do a computer screen, but I want to show this right here, and I can move this over here, and that way you should now be able to see the screen. So I'll move that over just a little bit there. Okay, here we go. So I think this is working. I hope so anyway, where you can now see the exam questions. So, all right. So the first question, I'm just going to kind of turn around here so you can hear me, talks about items called chattels that do not fit into the definition of real property, movable objects, okay? And I hope you are seeing this. I just want to make sure. Looks like you are. Looks like you are. Okay, I think so. Items called chattels that do not fit into the definition of real property, movable objects. Well, for some reason, I thought it was a freehold estate, but when you look at this question, it says the items that are called chattels. Well, chattel is personal property. And so the correct answer is personal property. A fixture is not personal property. Remember, it's attached. An encumbrance would not be personal property. And of course, the last item there is not as well. So just remember, chattels is also personal property. Now, the ownership of real estate by two or more parties, equal interest, is what we call a joint tenancy. Remember that with a joint tenancy, you have equal interest and you have to take title at the same time. Possession, time, title, equal interest. So on these exam questions that get involved with joint tenancy, tenancy by the entirety, tenancy in common, the key is to look at certain things. If the question says anything about equal interest, and it doesn't mention husband and wife, let's back up here. If it mentions husband and wife, then in that scenario with a husband and wife, it is always going to be a tenancy by the entirety. If it's talking about two different people and there's equal interest, you got to go with joint tenancy. If they talk about right of survivorship, you have to go with joint tenancy, okay? So just kind of look at those. You'll be able to pick those out. If they talk about unequal interest and no right of survivorship, then we're talking about tenancy in common, okay? So a couple of things you could look at there, and I think you'll be able to pick those out with no problem. So I just realized as I moved from my scene, I think this is it here. Yeah, there we go. So joint tenancy, correct answer there, all right? All right. And then, so those are little, you really need to know those vocabulary terms. That helps you out a lot when you, so rights belonging to land in addition to ownership of something else. Well, now the key word here is that rights belonging to land in addition to ownership. Now, you could say, well, John, an easement's a right, but the key word here is ownership, and that's what makes it an appurtenance, okay? So just remember, you've got to look at these questions very carefully and find out what's going to be the most correct answer. They will try to put distractors in the question, and a little bit of that question might be correct, but there's a better answer that is more correct. So that's what I want you to understand. Now, a lease commonly used for retail property in which the rental is based on the tenant's gross sales often stipulates a base monthly rental plus a percentage of gross sales is what we call a percentage lease. Now, percentage lease will normally have a fixed monthly income or a base income, and then you're going to pay a percentage on the sales over a certain amount. They love these kind of questions as a math question to say, John rented or a person rented a property and they paid this much each month in monthly rental, and then they had to pay 7% on sales that were above 300,000. Sales last year were 450,000. How much did John pay? Well, you take your monthly rent and you times 12 if they're asking how much did John pay for the full year's rent. Remember, they could say, what did John pay each quarter? Or what John paid for the month. You have to read, what were the sales given? Were they monthly sales? Were they annual sales? Do they want annual rent? And then we would have to pay the percentage on that 150,000. 300,000 was the base, 450 is what the gross sales were. And so the 150 you pay a percentage, but then you also have the base rent that you have to pay. So don't forget that. Very important that you do that as well. Okay, back to the other scene. There we go. So usually takes priority over all other liens. They love this question, and they're testing to see if you remember from the material that real estate taxes always take priority over a lien. Now, do not forget, special assessments are taxes. So real estate taxes and special assessments, because that is a tax, will always take priority over all other liens. The smallest home in the neighborhood benefits by nearby larger and more expensive homes. Well, is this the law of anticipation? No, that's anticipating that some big event's going to happen that's going to drive prices up. Is it an easement? No, that's not an easement. Highest and best use? No. The law of progression? Yes. The law of progression says if you're the littlest person on the block, your property values will go up. You always want to be the smallest person on the block, okay? If you're the largest property on the block, then all of the smaller homes pull your value down. And we call that the law of regression, okay? The law of progression means you're the smallest home on the block, and all these other big homes around you are going to pull your value up. That's the law of progression, pull your value up. the law of regression is the law of regression is when you are the biggest home on the block and everybody's pulling your value down. Now, my RE stream just went offline. Hopefully, we're still going live on YouTube, and I'm going to check that out here. Hey, it's live TV on YouTube, and we can do what we want, right? So let me go to YouTube and see if we are still. Actually, you can also go to Help Me Pass the Real Estate Exam. Help Me Pass the Real Estate Exam.com. And it should be showing up there as well. So, okay, let's go back over to the board. And we're not going to the board. We're going to my other monitor that I had to quickly put up here. An easement acquired by long continuous use. And we're talking about an easement, okay? If a person uses another's land for a sufficient period of time, the owner may not be able to prevent continued use. That is called an easement by prescription, okay? So adverse possession is when you actually take ownership because you've used it for a long period of time. In Missouri, it's a certain number of years. Every state may have a different number of years. But in that case, on that question, it referred to an easement. So we call that a prescriptive easement. Okay, our next question. A tenancy, I hope we're still going live, shows we are. I'm just not getting any. Yeah, here we go. And we have 5 people watching, so that's exciting. If you have a question, you can type one in, and I'll be glad to answer those. So this question talks about a tenancy by which a lessee retains possession of leased property after her or his lease has expired. We call that a holdover tenancy, okay? And it's continuing to occupy the premises. Could also lead to a tenancy in sufferance. Well, we call that a holdover tenancy, okay? So that's a holdover tenancy. You really need to know the vocabulary. I think that's so important. And I talk about digital flashcards. If you are a Global Real Estate School student, you can download those. I'll show you where they're at here in just a moment. But sometimes students get wrapped up on doing a lot of math and working a lot of I would focus totally on the definitions. Because if you know that definition, it doesn't matter how they ask the question, you're going to be prepared to know how to answer that question because you know the terminology. Now, one thing I'm starting to do differently, because the pass rates have just been horrible this last year with PSI, and not just my school, but all across the board. And I was so excited because I've had some very good pass rates, and then test just seems to be getting more challenging and challenging, is I want my students, when they finish the test, just to start taking practice exams. I think you need to just, go over digital vocabulary and practice test. And it's funny, I even asked AI, I asked ChatGPT, what is the best study method for students who just finished the school, they're a week away from taking that test, what would you recommend? And ChatGPT said, take practice tests, and go over the terminology. So that's what I'm going to recommend that my students do. And we're going to try that. And so I've got a lot of new questions. And that's why I'm doing these at 7 o'clock for you. So the law designed to preserve the free enterprise of the open marketplace by making illegal certain private conspiracies and combinations formed to minimize competition, such as price fixing or group boycotting. Now, they give us a lot of stuff here that tips us off that this is or falls under antitrust laws. So that's the correct answer. Okay, let's go over the next question. I may do one more, and then we'll pick up with these tomorrow night. A one-sided contract by which one party makes a promise to induce a second party to do something, that's an example of a reward or a unilateral contract. Now, don't forget, bilateral contract, I'm making a promise and you're making a promise. Unilateral contract, I'm making a promise and I'm the only one that's making a promise. A broker promising something for a sales contest. That's a unilateral contract. A reward would be an example of a unilateral contract, okay? So don't forget that. Well, you want to do one more? Let's do one or two more. My apologies if... Let's see here. Okay. One who buys and sells as an agent for another and for a commission. Well, they have a good distractor here. They want you to take that one. That's the distractor. We can rule these two out. So now you're saying, is it a broker or is it an agent? Well, broker is always going to take top priority. So I would go with broker. One more, and we will wrap it up for tonight. Two or more businesses, again, conspire against other businesses to reduce what? Competition. This is illegal under the Sherman Antitrust Act, and it's called boycotting. So remember that. Well, let me show you. I'm going to exit out of here. If you are a Global Real Estate School student, if you log in to your dashboard, whoops, I'm going to log into my dashboard here. If you go up here to Content Library, you will notice we have all of your review modules. I have audios you can download. This is what I want my students to be studying before the exam right there. And there's several tests there you can take. This is all national content. And this gives you digital flashcards, more practice exams. We have access to Real Estate Math Made Easy and some study guides. Now, if you go to your course, I have a lot of courses in here because this is my little domain, but I'm going to log out because I want to show you, if you are a Global Real Estate School student, you will have, and by the way, we're adding I've just started this. If you go into your course dashboard, all the way at the bottom, you have some practice state exams. Got 150 questions here, 70 here, and I'm putting 50 more up tonight. So really, with all of the material, There's no reason not to pass it. Hey, if you're thinking about getting your broker's license, I've got 50 broker scenario questions. So check those out. Remember, you can go to Help Me Pass the Real Estate Exam. Here we go. So it's going live. This is showing offline. That might be because the RE stream went off. But this right here, Help Me Pass the Real Estate Exam. You can download some free real estate exam questions right there. So, hey, thank you so much. Sorry about some of the issues today, but hey, I want to go live at 7 o'clock. I did not go live last night. My apologies. Some nights, if I'm not here, hang out. I may be running a little late, but you can always go over to YouTube and check out our channel. Lots of stuff there. Just going to check and see if we had any questions from anyone. Here's the question bank here. Let me put that back up. I do not see any questions. So, well, hey, thanks for watching. If you ever need help, globalrealestateschool.com. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. Thank you for listening to the podcast for Global Real Estate School. I'm John Mayfield, the Real Estate Tech Guy. Go out and make it a great day.